Today we're going to have current events in the Haftorah and also first in the Parshas. So if you have books in front of you, you can look in before we get to the Haftorah. If you look in the Haftorah on Parshas Vayigash. Parshas Vayigash in the Haftorah. It's Parshas Vayigash in the Haftorah. We see it's amazing how the Parsha of the week ties in always to current events. The Parsha and the Haftorah both speak, the theme is reunification. Right? Yosef and the brothers reunite after 22 years, and the Haftorah is when the Jewish people reunite, when Mashiach comes. Okay? So if you check out the Haftorah, you'll see current events in the Haftorah. The theme again is reunification. Yosef and the brothers, after terrible strife and civil war among them, they reunite and come together. And the Haftorah says, despite our differences today, the Jewish people will once again reunite in the Messianic era. Now, what's amazing about this Haftorah, Chanoch, is that this Haftorah in the book of Yecheskel follows directly the Haftorah of the dry bones. Not the cartoon, the dry bones, but the Haftorah of the dry bones follows this, where God is speaking to the post-Holocaust generation. Who are the dry bones? After Chorban Beit HaMikdash, the Jewish people are destroyed after the Holocaust. And God speaks to them, and He promised them He's going to bring them back, revive them, bring them back to Eretz Yisrael. Despite the Churban then, and despite the Churban now, so we see that the prophecy of the Valley of the Dry Bones, which follows this Nevuah, is speaking to us. 3 years after the Churban, God brought us back to this wonderful country of Eretz Yisrael, and revived the dead bones. We were the dry dead bones, the Holocaust survivors. Like I'm a Holocaust, my parents, both of them are Holocaust survivors. So the miracle of the dry bones, the miracle of the Jewish people come together, despite the Holocaust, despite losing a third of our people, we come back to build this wonderful country, rising like the ashes, like the phoenix out of the ashes of Auschwitz. So let's take a look at this Haftorah of Vayigash. The word of God came to me saying, again, God is speaking to the prophet Yecheskel, following the prophecy of the dry bones. Right after the Chorban Beit HaMikdash, the Jewish people feel they're destroyed. There's no way they'll ever be able to come back to Israel like the Jews felt in 1945. Chanoch, it's amazing how this keeps repeating itself. Okay? Now let's take a look. Hidavar Shem Elai Lamor, the word of God came to me saying, who's the me? Yecheskel. Va'ata on you, Ben Adam. Of all the Nevi'im, Yecheskel is called Ben Adam. It's the prophecy of the Haftorah Vayigash. Yecheskel 37. Va'ata on you, Ben Adam. What does Ben Adam mean? Man. You're a mensch. Adam doesn't mean a man, it means a human being. You're a mensch, Yecheskel. Right? To live up to the title of being a mensch. Va'ata you ben Adam, you're a mensch. Kach lecha eitz echad. Take for yourself what? One piece of wood. Uksayv alav, and write on it, liYehuda uvenei Yisrael chavero. And write for it on a piece of wood for Yosef, Yehuda b'nei Yisrael, first for Yehuda b'nei Yisrael. Lekach eitz echad, and then take another piece of wood. K'soiv olav liYosef, eitz Ephraim, v'chol beis Yisrael chaverov, v'korav otam, echad, el echad lecha, le'etz echad, v'hoy lachodem b'yadecha. So what's God telling him in verse 16? You, mensch, take for yourself one piece of wood and write on it, quote, for Yehuda, for the children of Israel's friends, and take another piece of wood and write on it, quote, for Yosef, the wood of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel, his friends. So what's going on over here? We know that after Shlomo HaMelech died, the kingdom split into two, right, Malka? The kingdom split into two. Yehuda and Benjamin remained with the Davidic dynasty, and the other tribes went after what? Yerovam. The kingdom of Israel is called the kingdom of Ephraim, because the first king of the 10 tribes and many kings after comes from Shevet Ephraim. So Ephraim, not me, but Ephraim, the son of Yosef, gave his name to the Aseret HaShvatim, because after Shlomo died, Yerovam ben Nevat, who broke off the kingdom, the 10 tribes, he came from Shevet Ephraim. Ephraim was the dominant tribe of the 10 tribes. So the northern kingdom, Aseret HaShvatim, were called what? Ephraim or Yosef. And the 2 tribes that remained with David's dynasty are called what? Yehuda. Yehuda. What?
Isn't that also the Messianic dynasties of both of them?
Oh, stay tuned. We're going to talk about that and what it means for us. Okay? Why are we learning this? We know that the Haftorah is current events. It's not ancient history. The Haftorah is God's GPS. GPS, God's personal system. So what does it mean? What are we talking about here? So throughout the centuries, the Jewish people have been fractured. And what else is new? But God promises that the Messianic era, we're going to come together right now once again. How are we going to do that? Pasuk Yud Zayin. Pasuk 17. Then God tells the Navi, bring them close to yourself. Which close? The 2 pieces of wood, one to the other, like one piece of wood, and they will become one in your hand. Magic. These 2 pieces of wood. One is written what? Yehuda and Yisrael. And the other is written what? Yosef and the house of Israel. So here you have the Aseret HaShvatim against the what? The Davidic Yehuda and Benjamin. Now, and they're going to become one in your hand, like magic. What? The 2 pieces of wood will become a single piece of wood. So, the prophecy is here that God will pour His Spirit into Ephraim. So Ephraim, at the end of time, will accept the leadership of Yehuda. Who is Ephraim? Yosef. Who's Ephraim? Yosef. Here you have the showdown between these 2 powerful tribes, Yehuda against Ephraim, or Yosef. The 10 tribes against the 2. Right? Now, Pasuk 18. Now, when the children of you people will say to you, will you not tell us, what are you doing, a magic show here? You're taking 2 pieces of wood and you're making what? Presto changeo? And they're becoming one. Chanoch, what's it all about? It's not a Houdini trick. So what are you supposed to say to them? In Pasuk what? Yutet. Daber Eleihem. Say to them, Ko yomer Hashem Elokim, thus says Lord God, Hine ani lokeach es eitz Yosef. I take the wood of Yosef, asher biyad Ephraim. Yosef is Ephraim. Right? Of the dominant tribe of Yosef, Ephraim, Menashe, Ephraim was the dominant tribe, the strongest tribe among the 10, giving his name to the 10 tribes. V'shifte Yisrael v'chaveiro, v'nusati oisam olav es eitz Yehuda, v'asitim la'etz echad, hoya echad b'yodi. So they're going to merge into one. Pasuk 20. The pieces of wood upon which you will write shall be in your hands before their eyes. So what's it all about? What is it? The Ed Sullivan Show. What's the magic trick? Shoshana, what is it?
David Copperfield.
Huh?
David Copperfield.
Pasuk Chav Aleph. V'daber Eleihem. Verse 21. Ko yomer Hashem Elokim. Thus says Hashem God. Hine means wow, Avi. Hine means wow. Ani lokeach es bnei Yisrael mebein hagoyim. You can come closer, because Hine ani lokeach es bnei Yisrael mebein hagoyim. I gather all the Jews that are dispersed among the nations, even from California, even from Lakewood, even from Syria, right? Asher holchasham v'kibatzti osam misaviv v'kibatzti. The word kibbutz. What does that mean? I will gather them from all over the globe, and I will bring them back to their land. We're living this prophecy, Avi. We are living this prophecy. Right? Jews from I come from Brooklyn, my wife comes from Persia, and we met in Israel. This is Mamish, we're living Chanoch, we're living the prophecy. Baruch Hashem, we were zoicha to live the prophecy. Pasuk 22, Vasiti otam legoy echad ba'aretz, and I will merge them into one nation, no longer the kingdom of Yehuda versus the kingdom of Ephraim, no longer the internal fighting, strife. Vasiti otam legoy echad, verse Chavbet 22, ba'aretz b'hari Yisrael, I will make them into one nation again. B'hari Yisrael, the mountains of Israel. Umelech echad yilu kulam lamelech. No longer a kingdom of Ephraim and a kingdom of Yehuda. Umelech echad yeh lukulam lamelech. There'll be one king over them, over all 12. Reunited, and it feels so good.
But the 10 tribes are still lost.
We'll talk. Let me work it through, then we'll talk. V'liyu od l'shnei goyim. They will no longer be two separate kingdoms, two separate nations. And no longer will they be divided ever again into two kingdoms, like you had the kingdom of Ephraim, the 10 tribes, versus the kingdom of Yehuda. That's going to be history, says the prophet, when Mashiach comes. Pasuk Chav Gimel, V'lo yitamu oid b'goleihem u'shgutzeihem b'chol pusheihem. Verse 23, they will no longer be contaminated with their idols and with their disgusting abominations and all their sins. Here, verse 23, I will save them. God says, I will save them from themselves. You hear this? I will take them from their dwelling places in which they have sinned, and I will purify them. The Hebrew says in Chav Gimel, V'taharti otam, and I will purify them, and they'll be for me for a people, and I will be for them for God. Okay? Pasuk of Dalid 24, Va'avdi David melech aleim, and my servant David shall be king over them. Now, when the prophet said this, King David was dead centuries earlier. What is he saying in verse Chav Dalid? Va'avdi David melech aleim, my servant David shall be king over them in the Messianic era when David's been dead for 3,000 years. For 3,000 years David's been dead, right? So what does it mean, Va'avdi David melech aleim?
At that time it was dead 3,000.
For that time he was dead, how many years? This was said 2,500 years ago. So then he was dead 500 years ago. So remember Humphrey Bogart movie, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Avi. So how could a dead guy be king? So the Radak brings two explanations. The Abdi David Melech Aleim. Either it's a descendant of King David, the Mashiach will be a descendant of King David, or the Radak says King David himself, Tchiat HaMeitim, David himself, the revival of the dead. So this fits in nicely with the other Haftorah of the dry bones revival. So either Avdi David means what? A descendant of King David will be the Messiah, or it means King David himself, says the Radak, because we know that Tchiat HaMeitim will take place when Mashiach comes. Okay? V'Avdi David Melech Aleim, verse 24, V'roya echad yeh l'kulam, and they'll have one shepherd for all of them. Mishpota yelechu, the word halacha, you see the word halacha? Mishpota yelechu, in my laws they will walk. V'chukota yishmeru, and my laws they will observe. V'asa oshim, they'll do them. It looks like when Mashiach comes, all the Jews are going to become Haredi. Malka, look at verse 24 again.
Why did you say my name and not somebody else's name?
We're all going to be what?
Just because I'm a Haredi.
I'm Haredi too. Va'avdi David melech aleim. I'm reading 24 again. Va'avdi David melech aleim. My servant David will be king over them, the reunited 12 tribes, Avi. V'ro'eh echad yeh l'kulam, and there'll be one shepherd over all 12 tribes, no longer 10 verses 2. Mishpata yelechu, the word halacha, they will walk in my laws, v'kosa yishmeru, and my laws they will observe and do them. Now, what's the difference between mishpat and a chok? Mishpatai means my laws, chokotai means my laws. We know in Hebrew there are no synonyms. What's the difference, Malka?
The difference is a chok are things we don't understand, and a mishpatis are things that we could understand.
Very good. Mishpat means mitzvos ben adam lechavero. Don't murder, don't steal, don't rape. It's mishpatim, it's logical. That's mishpatai. Chukotai is don't eat meat and milk, don't wear shatnez, right? Chukim are laws ben adam lamakom that we don't understand. So some people keep only mishpatim. If I understand it, I'll do it, otherwise I won't. But the prophet says the Mashiach comes, we're going to do the mishpatim and the chukim equally. Right? Whether to be kind to my neighbor or observe Shabbat or not eat meat and milk, we're going to do it equally. Some people today are good to their neighbors, but they're mechala Shabbat. That doesn't fly. You got to be chukim and mishpatim. So the prophet promises when Mashiach comes, we're going to do the mishpatim, logical mitzvot between man, and chukim, illogical mitzvot like not wearing shatnez, and not mixing meat and milk,
and not putting two different animals together,
and not doing klayin, right? Working with two different animals or mixing two seeds. We're going to do that.
How are you going to force them? They have to do it voluntarily.
So, are we going to force them?
No.
So the other nevuah says God will remove the lev or even. The same, next chapter, I'll remove the lev or even. What's the lev or even?
Well,
Heart of stone.
But-
Reuven, I'm going to give you, the Navi says, lev basar. So the Mefarshim explain what the Navi means, that God will remove the evil impulse. He'll remove the blinders, so it will be naturally like Adam Kodam Achet, yes?
I learned that when Mashiach comes, Hashem's presence will be apparent.
Well, that's what
So
he's
there
saying
won't
here.
be this,
Stay tuned, Malka.
this
Stay tuned. Read.
The chira goes away?
We're going to talk. Who asked that question? What's your name? Rachel. Great question, Rachel. Let me work it through and I'll answer your question, but please remind me. But I want to work out the Haftorah, then we'll get back to your question. If we have no Bechira, Abi, we're going to be like robots?
You don't get scar.
So what is it? Stuck in neutral? Rachel, good question. We'll talk. But let's just work it through here. Okay, which pasuk? 26, I think, no?
Yes.
V'karati lehem brit shalom. And I will cut a covenant of peace. Not the phony peace. Not the peace process pieces. No, not Oslo. V'karati lehem brit shalom. And I will cut a treaty of real peace. Brit olam yeh. What does Brit olam mean? An eternal covenant with them. Brit olam yeh. And I will place them and increase them. V'nesati es mikdashi b'tolcham la'olam. And I will put, verse 26, right? Is it 26? And what?
That was 26.
V'nesati es mikdashi b'tolcham la'olam. I will place my Beit HaMikdash in their midst forever. Unlike the first two Beis HaMikdash that were destroyed, this new temple, the third one, will be what? La'olam. Yes, Ruvain.
It just seems to me this shalom is among the Jews.
Great. That's my whole point.
Yeah, okay, now it's the rest.
We can't make peace with Abu Mamzer if we don't first make peace among ourselves. That's the key, Ruvain, to the whole Haftorah over here. Pasuk 28. V'hoyi mishkani aleihem. And then my Mishkan will be on them. Right? My Mishkan, or my Shechina. V'hoyi mishkani aleihem. I think it's 27. V'hoyi mishkani aleihem. My mishkan b'yadem v'yitu lahem le'elohim. I will be for them for a God. V'hema yili la'am, and they will be what? My people. Pasuk Chav Chet. V'yodu hagoyim. Then the EU and the UN will know, Avi, K'ani Hashem, that I, God, Mikadesh es Yisrael, that I, God, sanctify Israel. How will they know that? V'yot migdoshi b'tocham la'olam. When by Beis HaMikdash will be among them, la'olam. Unlike the first two that were destroyed, Avi, the final Beis HaMikdash will be forever. And that will be a testimony to the UN and the EU that God dwells only among Israel. So unlike the first two temples, the third one will be eternal. The question is, Avi, who builds the third temple? It says it'll be la'olam, but it doesn't tell us who will build the third temple. For the answer, you have to come next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is Haftorah B'Tevis. At 2:45, we'll be talking about who builds the third temple, God or us? And why should I care? That's this coming Tuesday, Haftorah B'Tevis, at 2:45. Then we have Mincha at 4 o'clock. Then we have a break fast.
Same place. Same right here.
Now to get to Rachel's question. So it says here that we're all going to become Haredi. That means we're not going to have free will anymore. And the prophet tells us in the next chapter that God will remove the Lev Even. And the Radak says that means the Yetzer Hara. So we won't be human anymore. So the Ramban explains as follows. Every statement in the Tanakh has to have a source, Shoshana, where? In the Chumash. How does Yechezkel know that God will remove the Yetzer Hara from our heart when Mashiach comes? So the Ramban says it's actually a pasuk in the Devarim Lamed, pasuk Vav. The Devarim Lamed, pasuk Vav says, Umal Hashem Elokecha es levavcha. When Mashiach comes, Deuteronomy 30 verse 6, Umal Hashem Elokecha es levavcha. God will circumcise your heart to love Hashem your God with all your heart and soul. So what do you mean? God's going to perform open heart surgery? Hanoch. So the Ramban says no. This is the same idea of Yechezkel, that God will remove the Yetzer Hara. That's like a foreskin that gives us spiritual cholesterol. So when Mashiach comes, God will circumcise our heart, not in a literal sense, not open heart surgery, but God will remove the Yetzer Hara, and this is what Yechezkel means. So the Ramban says we won't be human anymore? No. We're going to go back to Adam Kodem Achet. Remember Back to the Future, Ruvain? Adam Kodem Achet. Did he have a Yetzer Hara?
No.
If he didn't have a Yetzer Hara, Rachel, how could he sin? How could he sin if he didn't have the Yetzer Hara? How could he sin?
Serpent, man.
But how could the serpent was the Yetzer Hara? So if he didn't have a Yetzer Hara, how could he sin?
Because he left his wife alone, and because the serpent was too...
If he didn't have the Yetzer Hara, he wouldn't be human. But Adam Kodem Achet, the Ramban and the Nefesh HaChaim explain, the Yetzer Hara was a force outside of us. Satan was whispering in the ear. There was an external force. The choices were so clear between good and evil. Of course, Adam had free will, otherwise he wouldn't be human. But the Yetzer Hara was a force outside of him, Leah. When he sinned, he chose to take the Yetzer Hara inside of him. Eitz Hadas Tov Hara, where good and evil are what? Mixed up. The choices are so blurry, Avi. The worst evil, they're calling good today. Right? Lesbianism, homosexuality, perversion, they're calling good. How could that be? Before Adam sinned, he knew evil was evil and good was good. He wasn't confused. He chose to sin, but the choices were already crystal clear. Once he sinned, he took the Yetzer Hara, Reuven, inside of him. And now the choices are not clear. It's all blurry. What's good, what's evil? It's all mixed up. When Mashiach comes, says Deuteronomy 30 and Yecheskel, we're going to go back to Adam Kodem Achet, where we'll still have free will, but Satan will no longer, the Yetzer Hara will no longer be inside of us. It'll be a force outside of us, and the choices will be clear, and everyone will acknowledge that evil is evil and good is good, and you want to have this hypocrisy where the worst evil masquerades as good. But the choices will still be there, but they'll be much clearer. We're still going to be human. So this is what he means over here. We're still going to have free will, but the choices will be so clear that the people will choose to do good because the blinders will come off. The blinders will come off, yes?
I was reading from a Labor Wolf that,
From whom?
Labor Wolf,
He's an Australian rabbi.
Chabad.
Go ahead.
He talks on philosophy.
Go ahead.
And,
so this was that Adam Rishon basically had, his skin was like our nails.
Right. There's a medrash like that. The skin was like, right.
So you could see his soul was lit up. However, right after the Chait, he got or.
Right.
Which is skin, and he became, so, and he also says that the serpent was not Satan. The Satan really is like Moloch. He does God's will.
Right. Well, the Yetzer Hara is a robot.
Right, so, but the serpent.
Because only when. Go ahead, what?
Is that the serpent was a man like in a serpent.
Which man was he? Adam and Chava.
He doesn't say.
Adam and Chava were the only people, weren't they?
But I'm just saying.
He didn't look like a snake. He looked like a lounge singer, He didn't look like a snake.
That's basically what he's saying. So it wasn't.
But it was the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara always wears disguises, Rachel. And he's always whispering in her ear. Sometimes he looks like a lounge singer, and sometimes he looks like Mrs. Potiphar trying to seduce Yosef. Satan takes on different. Everyone has their serpent whispering in his ear, Ruvain. We have to be aware of that. But now the choices are much harder because now the Yetzer Hara is part of us. That was the result of the sin of Adam and Chava. But the prophet promises, and the Torah and the Devarim promises, that when Mashiach comes, the choices will be much clearer. There won't be this confusion. There won't be, Maddie, this hypocrisy anymore that we have now, where the worst evil masquerades as what? Human rights. Okay?
But
Now,
we were always told
yes?
Mashiach can't come until all the Jews are really together.
Oh. So you must have, Masha, you must have ESP, Masha. Because you read my mind.
You know that every Friday night when I bench lift, that's what I pray for.
See, Masha, look at the Haftorah. What's going to come first, Mashiach or the reunification of Am Yisrael? What's going to come first? Let's look at the Haftorah.
Yeah.
Let's look back.
What pasuk?
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you one pasuk is. Yeah. Let's take a look. Yeah. Look at pasuk Chav Bet. You want to read the English? I will make them into one nation in the land. I will make them into one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and they will have one king, and they will no longer be two nations. They will no longer be divided.
Right.
This internal strife again. So what's the message? Current events. We have to be inclusive of all Jews, Ruvain. How to bring Mashiach? Ruvain, Masha. We must first bring us all together. We must first, Maddie, be brought together before we can bring Mashiach.
Is that what you read?
Yes.
I read it, it looked like we're going to be like that once he's here.
No, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Huh? First, we must bring ourselves together, and only then will we be able to bring the Mashiach. Current events, Abby, we have to be inclusive of all Jews, not to put any Jews down.
That's because we're there's no
not to put
Pachas,
any...
there's no bracha.
Exactly, but the Mashiach can't come. Mash, until the Yidden reunite, they can't come. So what comes first, the horse or the cart? Ruvain, tell me, what does it say here? What comes first?
So what's your question?
Look at 20. Look at 20, please. Verse 20. Oh, verse 21, slicha. Verse 21. V'daber aleim, and speak to them. Verse 21. Who's them? Us. Right? The Jewish people. Say to them, Ko yomer Hashem Elokim, thus says Hashem your God, Hine, wow. Ani lokeach et bnei Yisrael, I take the Jewish people mibein hagoyim, from all the nations. Asher holchasham, that they went there, the kibatzti osam, and I will gather them, the word kibbutz, misaviv, from all around, veveshi otem ladmatam, and I'll bring them back to the land. Mash, it's happening. First we have to come back to Israel. It's laying the groundwork, Maddie, for Mashiach. When the Jews live in Borough Park, how could Mashiach come? The Vilna Gaon said Mashiach can't come unless all the Yidden, even from Lakewood, come on Aliyah. So first step is the Kibatzti Eschem. Follow the script. I gather you, you come back to the land, and then, verse 22, Vashiti otam l'goyechad. Once you all make Aliyah, even from what? Teaneck, New Jersey, even, right? When you come, and you come back to your land, then Pasuk 22, I will make them into one nation. And they will no longer be divided anymore, says the Haftorah. Right?
I have a question.
But before, they can't be achdut until all the Yidden what?
Oh, yeah.
Come back.
But the
Don't you see?
I think there's a deal that it says on the wings of eagles, God will bring us to Israel.
That's an El Al jet. The 747. It looks like an eagle. What?
I think that you have to accept all the Jews before they can all come back. And I would like you to explain how to accept all the Jews.
To do what Bennett did.
I agree with Bennett, but other people don't.
So that's the problem. What's wrong? He went to a Shalom Schechter high school, whatever, and he spoke to them and tried to be Mekarev them. That's the message of the Haftorah. To be inclusive of all Jews. Because we can't bring the Mashiach unless we first, Yehuda, bring ourselves together.
That's what I was going to say.
How can you bring yourselves together when you read today's paper and current events?
Yes.
And you've got 65% against the Haredim, 25% against the Yamim, 35%
Okay.
against the small. So how are you going to bring
So
yourselves
it's the
together?
exact opposite of the Haftorah. It's the exact opposite. But the tafkid of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zechat Tzadik Yivracha.
I said to my sister, we went to the Rebbe for bracha.
You know why the Rebbe could have been the Mashiach? You know why the Rebbe could have been the
I
Mashiach?
need your help. That's what he told my sister.
That what? That what?
My sister said, I want to thank you, Rabbi, because of all the good you do for all the Jews. He
Right.
said, like this. Remember, Shelley, what he said to you? But
You had him
need your
B'Yechidus?
help.
He spoke to you
And he
B'Yechidus?
was saying he was in English. And yeah, we went to the Rebbe.
So you had Yechidus with him.
Yeah.
That's a big schus.
My brother was a Lubavitcher.
So you had protects
He
you.
got us to go.
Protects you. But anyway, I'm reading a great book. It's called The
I need your
Rebbe.
help.
You read the book by Telushkin? What a book. You know why he could have been the Mashiach? I'll tell you why. Documented evidence, it's all there. At the Fabranging, where he had Shoshana, conservative rabbis sat at the dais. Conservative rabbis. And the Orthodox rabbis were shocked. And many wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. How dare you allow conservative rabbis to sit at your dais? We're not coming anymore. You know what he said? I don't discriminate against any Jew. God does not put labels on any Jew. Who's conservative, who's reform? God only sees Jews.
That's what my
So therefore I only see Jews. You hear this, Leah? I'm going to stop a Jew from coming to my table? How dare you? So some Orthodox rabbis boycotted. But that did not stop the Rebbe from inviting anyone who wants to come conservative reform. They sat at the table. That's why he could have been the Mashiach. More. This book, I'm telling you, I can't put it down, Shoshana. It's called The Rebbe by Tlushkin. Chief Rabbi Lau, not this one, this father, came to the Rebbe for Yechidus. And the Rebbe asked him, what do you do? He says, I'm busy being Mekarev Rechoikim. Mekarev Rechoikim, I'm busy bringing close those Jews that are far from Hashem. I'm into Kiruv Rechokim. I'm trying to bring Jews that are very far away from Hashem, close to Hashem. He says, what are you talking about? How do you know that you're closer to Hashem than those so-called Rechokim? This is Lubavitcher Rebbe speaking, and Rav Lau's not ashamed to admit. How do you know, great Rabbi Lau, that you are closer to God than those so-called Rechokim? God doesn't use the thermometer that we use, Maddie. Know why he could have been the Mashiach? God has a different thermometer, or what's it called? Spiritual thermometer, Malka. Okay. How dare you call them Rechokim, he said. How do you know? Maybe they're closer to God than you are, just because they don't wear a kapota with a shroud kapel. The Lubavitcher Rebbe. You know he said that out here? That's why he could have been the Messiah.
You know what? Tolushkin has another thing. The same thing that Shaliach comes.
So the Rebbe lived this prophecy. You have to be inclusive of all Yidden. How to bring the Mashiach, the Rebbe said. This prophecy. First, we must bring ourselves all together to be all inclusive, and only then can we bring the Mashiach. Yes, Rachel?
But basically, the Shaliach came to the Rebbe, Tolushkin says.
Go ahead.
And said, I'm Makar of this, and I'm doing this, and put his fill in, and the Rebbe said, stop. Do you know how much money this guy has? And the
Which
Shaliach-
guy?
This guy that you just Makar of. So he said to the Shaliach, do you know how much money the guy you're being Makar of has?
Yeah.
The Shaliach said, no. He says, then you're not his friend. That's all he said. He said, don't give me all the stories about Makar of. Maybe the guy is starving. Maybe, you have to know more than just
Right.
about. It
But-
was just very practical.
But the point of Rebbe Chanoch is we don't judge a person. Only God can judge. And the Mishnah says, Al totnet chavero at shemegia lemkomo. Never judge your fellow Yid until you walk in his shoes. Can we really walk in someone else's shoes? Can you know that someone else's matzav? How dare you call them Rechokim? And maybe in God's eyes, he's closer than you are. The Rebbe said to Rabbi Lau, how dare you put labels on Jews?
Rabbi Sprecher, you know why you're talking about the Rebbe today? Because today's Hey Tevis.
And?
What happened on Hey Tevis?
Well, tell me.
That's when the federal court allowed the Rebbe to have the library that was being challenged by
By his nephew.
Yes. Exactly.
No Kawinki Diki, Shoshana. He won the court case that all the books belong to Chabad, not to a private person.
Already started.
Right? So timely, Malka. Just amazing. And he was a super Haredi. The Lubavitcher Rebbe. But he reached out to... What?
He didn't wear the penguin suit.
But he wore a
You
kapota.
know what I say about the penguin suit? That's what I called somebody. Remember I called somebody?
Yeah, don't...
Don't say, I can't say.
No.
Hooray to wear a black suit.
But anyway, let's not get into a... Right? The Mishnah says... Ruvain... Malka, please. The Mishnah says... Al tistakel beka... Leah, the Mishnah says in Ovot... Al tistakel bekankan elamasha yeshba. Never look at the outside cover. It doesn't matter, Streimel, Kapota. What matters what you are inside. The Mishnah said that, the Masechta Ovot. Right? And who knows what's on the inside? Only God knows. Only God knows. How dare we judge another Yidel? We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And the Mishnah said you can't judge anybody unless you walk in his shoes, and you can never walk in the other person's shoes. So all of this strife that's going on, Avi, it's ridiculous. Why can't they just read the Haftorah and unite? Right? Why discriminate and put labels on
And they're
Yidden?
not reading it.
They're not reading it, so they should come to this class.
It's like crowd.
Right, Yehuda? Can you get it out there? I don't know.
For this, it's crowd.
Right? Now, we know that the Parsha always speaks to current events. The Parsha has, Yosef cried very much on his father's neck.
But not the father.
The father didn't cry because he was reading the Shema.
He was saying.
So why did he daven with the first minyan, Maddie? He could have davened with the first minyan and read the Shema earlier or later.
It was spontaneous.
Spontaneous. Because he felt such an overflowing love that he said, Hafta Shem Lakecha. This love that I feel for my son, I'm going to channel it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Yaakov Avinu. God comes first, more than even my beloved son. So he felt such love well up in his heart. He knew he could never love again. I'll never love this way again. So he cried out, Hafta Shem Lakecha b'chol levavcha. But it says Yosef cried, and he cried a lot. And Rashi says, Harbe b'chiyot. Harbot b'chiyah. Hirbe v'hose b'chiyah yotel ragil. He cried and he cried and he cried more than normal. Rachel, why should I care? This happened 3,700 years ago, Ruvain. The Torah's GPS. Why do I care that Yosef cried and he cried more than normal and he cried a lot? Masha, why should I care? Fasten your seatbelts. A Jew answers Akasha. It says he cried on his father Yisrael. Yisrael, not Yaakov. He did all of this crying al Yisrael Aviv. What's important about that, Ruvain? Yaakov has two names. Sometimes he's called Yaakov, and sometimes he's called Yisrael, Leah, when? Yaakov he's called when it's the person himself, in his personal matzav. Yisrael is Klal Yisrael throughout the centuries. Shoshana, current events. Rashi said he couldn't stop crying Yoteh HaRagil, because he cried not on Yaakov, Yisrael Aviv, on all the tzoros of Klal Yisrael, down to this little baby never had to have his leg amputated.
Which leg?
This baby from 2 days, Rachel. Yosef was crying on the Tsar Shelanu. Therefore, it doesn't say he cried on Yaakov's, his father's neck, on Yisrael's neck. And that's the crying Yotem Idai, says Rashi, Yotel Ragil. Because he's Tsar Shelanu, the current sorot that the Yidden have. With Ruach HaKodesh he saw the pain of Yisrael. Not just personal Yaakov, our pain. Our pain. He cried, non-stop crying. And I'll tell you, Maddie, it's frightening that the Parsha, the week, the current events, at the scene there, underneath the string bridge, where the attack took place, 11 people were injured. But the reporters were there, they said they saw hundreds of people crying hysterically. Ruvain. Hundreds of people were crying hysterically who were not involved. They felt the pain of Yosef HaTzadik, to feel the pain of another Jew, to cry along with another Jew. That's the uniqueness of Klal Yisrael. Why Yosef couldn't stop crying, not on Yaakov's neck, Maddie. Torah mentions twice Yisrael. Our pain, our suffering. To feel the pain, to cry with another Jew. And it's amazing that the reporters pointed out, thanks to you, I get the post. They saw hundreds of people, not involved, crying hysterically. That's Am Yisrael.
Don't we have an extra sense of compassion?
That's right, we're Rachmanim. 3 signs of a Jew. Rachmanim, Baishanim, Goim Lechasadim. Keneged the 3 Avot. The Goim Lechasadim is whom? Avram Avinu. Who's the Baishanim? Yitzchak, Gevurah, Baishan, shame to do a sin. What's the other one?
Yaakov.
Which is?
Chesed.
Rachamim. Rachel, you sitting down?
Yeah.
The three signs of three avot, right? Goyim lechasadim is Avram Avinu. By Shanim, Yitzchak, Yira, you're ashamed, you're afraid, you're ashamed to do a sin. And Rachamim, Rachmanim, Yaakov Avinu said, when the brothers were going down to Egypt, he said, the El Shaddai, Yiten Lochem, Rachamim. Yaakov was the Rachamim. So the three signs of a Jew, the DNA Shoshana, from the three patriarchs. And if a Jew doesn't have those three, you have to suspect that maybe he's not really Jewish. Baishan, Rahman, Goim Lechasadim. And you see, the Jews are, even the secular, I don't want to say that word. Every Jew has compassion. Sometimes too much compassion, even for the enemy. It's twisted compassion, but it comes from a good source, Shoshana. Comes from a good source, yes?
What about that drug ring they broke in Mea Sharim?
The what?
They broke a drug ring in Mea Sharim.
Didn't hear about
You hear
that.
about it in the Jerusalem
No.
Post?
No.
They arrested 60 people involved in major sale of drugs, weapons, cars in Mea Sharim.
Hasidim?
Yeah.
Yes. in
Hasidim?
Mea
Both in Mea Sharim and in Beit Shemesh.
Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Hashemesh,
Ramat Beit Shemesh. Parading. Rahmanim, Bashanim, Gemilas Achadim.
So they put on a show.
What
You have
kind
to
of
look
ethnic
behind.
is that to sell drugs to young people. What kind of heathen are they?
They haven't been proven guilty yet.
Right.
They were where they, what do you mean? He worked among them for months.
Even if they are, they could be paraded on the outside and not paraded inside.
Shoshana, don't confuse Jews with Judaism.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
You're right.
Right? Right?
People make mistakes
Everybody makes mistakes, right? We have to look,
for money
how do you change the world?
by changing.
By changing yourself, right? Right? By changing ourselves, right? This great tzaddik said when I was young, the sons are off, said Chanok, when I was young, I figure I'm going to save the whole world. Then as I got older, I'll settle for my town. Then I got even older, the sons always said, I'll try to change my family. But now I realize that the only person I can change is the guy in the mirror. That's what he said. Thank you very much. Toda rabah.